Only 5 undefeated teams remain in all of District 11, including a couple of Bethlehem rivals in 6A. From an individual standpoint, players like Notre Dame's Matt Bodner, Northwestern's Eli Zimmerman, and Freedom's Aaron Beat have just stuffed the stat sheet week after week after week, while teams like Salisbury and Deerfield, they're off to their best starts in quite some time. The Huskies actually helping us kick off the second half of the 2024 campaign when they visit Whitehall this Friday evening. That, one of our 2 featured live games on Friday. The Zephyrs faced rival Northampton last week, with the K-Kids getting their revenge after falling to Whitehall by 1 point in overtime a year ago. The Kids reclaiming the Cement Bowl trophy with a convincing 41-10 triumph. Junior quarterback Gavin Taft leading the way, completing 8 of 11 passes for 129 yards and 2 touchdowns. He found Tamir Williams from 29 yards out and Cameron Hirsch from 38 yards away. Taft also added 70 yards on the ground, finding pay dirt on a 10-yard dash. After back-to-back 9-point losses, Northampton back in the win column. Kids are 3-2 heading into Thursday's home showdown with Pocono Mountain West. Stellar quarterback play, meanwhile, in the Colonial Schuylkill League came from the aforementioned Bodner, who helped the Crusaders eclipse 50 points in a game for the 3rd time this season. The junior completed nearly 80% of his passes Friday versus Catasauqua, finishing 19 for 24 for 263 yards and 3 touchdowns. Bodner connected with fellow classmate Alex Clark on a 26-yard scoring strike and found senior Carmine Diaz twice on 16 and 39-yard TDs. At the midway mark of the season, Bodner is among the top 10 passers in the state of Pennsylvania, having already thrown for better than 1,700 yards and 18 touchdowns. 4-1 Notre Dame hosts fellow 4-1 Northern Lehigh on Friday. From a couple of great QBs to a trio of stellar rushing performances, starting with still unblemished Liberty, which took the battle of unbeatens over Deerfield on Friday thanks to its ground game. The Hurricanes racking up over 220 yards rushing, 118 of which came on 18 carries from junior Gabe Green, who also found the end zone twice on 3- and 4-yard TD totes. The 118 yards rushing were a season high for Green as Liberty improved to 5-0, remaining atop the District 6A standings. The Canes have outscored their first 5 opponents 144-49 heading into Friday's matchup at East Stroudsburg South. The Cavaliers are one of 4 4-1 teams left in the EPC, alongside Easton, Deerfield, and Parkland. The Trojans using a punishing grounds attack Friday in running away from Nazareth in a rematch of last year's 6A championship. 8 Parkland players combined for 52 carries, which produced 275 yards and 4 touchdowns. Sophomore TJ Lawrence led the charge with 118 on the ground. He opened the scoring with a 5-yard scamper before a trio of touchdowns from the wishbone formation took the Trojans to victory. Senior Reed Andrus from 3 yards away, then a 1-yard plunge from fellow classmate Leo Dauberman before sophomore Naquan Thomason capped the scoring with a 10-yard dart. Of Parkland's 25 total touchdowns through 5 weeks, 19 of them have come on the ground. Easton, meanwhile, has 16 rushing scores to date, 14 of which have come from the dynamic duo of seniors Will Day and Dorian Thomas, who combined for 44 carries, 288 yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns last Friday in an overtime triumph at Emmaus. Both backs went over the century mark on the ground, while Day also added 3 receptions for 24 yards, including an 11-yard scoring strike. Thomas put Easton ahead in the bonus session with a 2-yard TD plunge before Day sealed the deal with an interception in the end zone, clinching the Red Rovers' 28-21 win. Easton has won 4 straight ball games, outpacing its last 4 foes 156-42. So we've hit great quarterback play and dynamic rushing. How about we close with a guy who combined both in Week 5 on one spectacular play? Of course, we're talking about Becca QB Caden Vasa. The Golden Hawks facing rival Central for the first time since Becca blanked the Vikings in last year's District 4A final. The Hawks had 269 yards rushing in that showdown, 252 this past Saturday, which produced 4 touchdowns, the most spectacular of which came from Vasa in the 3rd quarter. The junior going into damage control mode after the snap sails over his head, able to elude the Central pass rush before breaking tackles and spinning his way into the end zone, improvising on what technically went down as a 23-yard touchdown run, but a scramble that covered a whole heck of a lot more ground than that. The Golden Hawks improved to 3-2 going into Friday's showdown at Pocono Mountain East.